The LA Clippers, Dan. The LA Clippers. If you look at BetMGM, the Clippers have the 4th worst odds to win the Western Conference. The Blazers, the Spurs at the bottom as well. And then you have the Clippers at plus 6,600. That means they don't even have play-in odds for the LA Clippers, despite the fact that you have James Harden, despite the fact you have Kawhi Leonard. But here's the problem. Kawhi Leonard hasn't practiced. According to Ty Lue, he's still rehabbing his knee. I think we know how this is going to go. What's going to happen is he's going to come back in November or December. He's going to start off slow. Then he's going to have a stretch where he looks like the MVP. It's going to instill a little bit of hope in Clippers fans. And then he's going to break down again in April. We know, we've seen this story play out before. That's what's going to happen for the Clippers. And I feel bad for Clippers fans because the Thunder have their pick the next 3 years, or they have the rights to swap. They can't tank. They can't play their young guys who look good. Like, I'd love to play Kobe Brown. I'd love to play Cam Christie. Jordan Miller. Give me more Jordan Miller. Jordan Miller looks fun and encouraging, but you can't play so many young guys because then you're going to struggle. I just don't know what to do if I'm the Clippers front office right now. Lawrence Frank calls you up, Dan, and he says, what do we do, Dan? What do we do? How do we operate this season? What's your advice for him?
Go to one of the 38,000 toilets and start puking. I don't know. Yeah, it's I mean,
I look forward to going to the arena.
Sure. The sound you heard.
Do you think they have bidets on the toilets? Do you think they have bidets? No.
I think that's the recipe for disaster in a men's room at an NBA arena. So no, I'm going to hope not.
I've never used a bidet. Never used them. Are they worth all the hype?
First of all, you're sitting there assuming that I've got a whole wealth of bidet knowledge. Like, I'm not some kind of hard scrabble man from the Northeast. Come on now.
Come from a middle class family.
Yeah, no, I also have not partaken, Kevin. You're not going to believe this, but it's not experience.
How about the listeners? Hit us up in the mailbag.
Yeah, KOC show at yahoosports.com. Let us know all your bidet stories, please. Full bidet episode, week 3 of your new show, Dynamite.
Yes, for sure, yeah. just no bidet videos, please.
Yeah, right, those do not go to the front of the line. Those
could be text only.
Those go to the FBI if those come in. The sound you heard, by the way, as you're describing, what the likely future is for Kawhi Leonard, was Michael Pina crying, like our former coworker at the Ringer, Michael Pina, just being very sad because he is Charlie Brown looking at Lucy with the football with the Clippers every single year, cannot quit them. And I understand it. Like, the version of Kawhi, even the version of Kawhi Leonard that we've seen when he's been healthy in those spurts, as you mentioned, in recent years, has looked like in the middle of last season, he looked like a top 5 player in the NBA. And that was a 50-win team that looked like it had every, weapon it could need. It just, there's no reason to believe at this point that you're going to see that in April, May, and June. And I mean, the optimistic take, I suppose, is take your time now to deal with the inflammation, figure out the plan in place, and then, give yourself maybe a better chance. Instead of saying you got to get to 65 games, give yourself a chance to maybe, if you manage it, to get to like 50, but then you've got them in April, May, and June. That would be tremendous. And that would be a wonderful thing to see. I think for everybody who remembers or has like a dim vision of what Kawhi Leonard at his peak was in the postseason, it would be lovely to see that more regularly now. It's just, as you laid out, the timeline is like, he missed the last 8 games of last season with the right knee inflammation. He misses game 1 of the playoffs, comes back, does not look like himself, goes out again. We find out recently he had a procedure right after that in May, tries to go after Team USA, doesn't go great there, has to withdraw from that. The best thing that he said was that his knee was at a neutral state. And it's like, well, that's not a great sign if that's the best we can get to after a procedure and a couple of months off. And so now, this is what you're going to get. It's a guy who's had 3 knee surgeries since tearing his ACL 3 years ago, and seems like he's still kind of paying for it. And if that is the case, the best rose-colored glasses I can give you is like the Clippers scored pretty well last season when Harden was on the floor without PG and Kawhi. They scored like a top 3 or 4 offense in those minutes. They also got absolutely annihilated on defense and were outscored in those minutes. And there's no other real number 2 scoring option that you feel confident about on this roster as constructed. So maybe it's if your best case scenario is without Kawhi, we turn the clock back to Houston Harden and surround him with hard scrabble defenders, like maybe, I don't know, but that seems like an awfully like small needle to try to thread in 2024, 25. And yeah, it doesn't leave me feeling particularly optimistic for their chances.
I think you nailed it. That's what it's going to have to be. For as long as Kawhi is out, it's going to have to be the Harden show. You're going to have to see if he can turn back the clock as much as possible and put a bunch of shooters and long arm, versatile defenders around him with Zubats at the 5 as his screener. And Zubats could have a big year. Like Zubats could be, the big beneficiary here for the Clippers. But ultimately, I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs. I think you look at other teams in the West. I like just going up and down. BetMGM in order of Western Conference champion. Thunder, Mavericks, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Suns, Grizzlies, Warriors, Lakers, Pelicans, Kings, Rockets. Those are the teams ahead of the Clippers with the Spurs, Jazz, and Blazers behind them in terms of odds to win the Western Conference. I don't feel good about the Clippers ahead of any of those teams because a lot of those teams have better top-end depth. They have even more bench depth. They have more star depth. Doesn't matter the way you stack it up. The Clippers feel like a team that's going to fall into the lottery. Maybe they sneak into the play-in. That's a good thing for the Thunder. Could mean they have another lottery pick to toy with.